Well, good morning to everybody. Blessings on your life. It's another day that the Lord has made, and we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. I'm a bit late on this morning for several reasons, but the last few minutes was I was waiting on my internet to stabilize, and so I think we have a good connection at this point. Uh, so pray that the enemy does not bring about a disturbance uh, and disconnects this time that we're going to share together on today. It is a very urgent message on today. It's a special message on today, and it's one that is going to affect everybody. Um, I believe in my heart, I believe in my spirit that the Lord has shared some things with me that the whole world needs to know, and it's just around the corner. I mentioned in several lives recently about the message of the series that I preach about the four horsemen. And in those horsemen, you have the white horse, the red horse, the pale horse, and the black horse. And I dealt with that extensively. In fact, I dealt with it so much that I didn't even get a chance to cover two of them, but I did cover the red horse, and I covered the pale horse, and I covered the black horse. I would admonish you to go back and look at those messages from maybe 2 years ago now, because we are cycling again. We're coming around the corner to where we are going to need the information from those messages. Behind me, I'm kind of out the way. I'll be in front of you in a few seconds. Is a backdrop, and in the backdrop, there is a cornfield with a black horse, and then there's a set of scales that is in front of the black horse. Imagine with me, if you will, that the cloud is representative of the spirit that is now moving upon the horse, but it is the mind and the plan of God. We don't understand it. We can't make it out oftentimes, but I just want you to know that it is the plan of God. And so, with that, I wanted you to see that, because this message is going to be twofold, and I want the picture there to illustrate, to get into your minds, and to form some type of uh, word picture, if you will, of a cornfield, because we're going to talk about the cornfield, and we're going to talk about yield, and we're going to talk about seed on this morning, because I promise you it's what you're going to need here in just a few days. Okay. And so I want you to share this message. I want you to engage this message. I want you to put aside all your biases, and I want you to really listen on this morning, because this is serious business. There's a lot of things that are in our midst that surround us right now, and I'm trying to bring you current to where God is at, to get in step with where God is at as it relates to the world and as it relates to you. And so we want to talk on this morning. Why is this message so important? Because in a short time, you will need so much more of what we're going to talk about this morning, in order to meet your needs, in order for your needs to be met. Now, and I'll explain that here in a second. I want to bring your attention to the book of Revelations, and I've talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I want to hit it again, because this needs to be pounded in. It needs to be concretized, if you will. And you need to reference it. You need to allow what is being said here on this platform today, face to face. You needed to get inside of your heart, into your mind, and to be etched in, so you don't lose sight or lose focus on it. Now, Revelation chapter number 6, Revelation chapter number 6, and uh, starting at verse number 5, this is what it says. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." This is the reason why I have the black horse in my backdrop now. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. Some translations say scales. Verse number 6, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." Now, this particular challenge that we have in the text today, what it is trying to tell us, it is suggesting to us, it wants us to pay close attention, uh, because there is going to come a time, and the time is now. The time is here, and you will see this. Y'all gonna remember this crazy man was talking, and he said that this was gonna happen, just like Grandma said. Keep living. Grandma told me this was gonna happen, so I'm telling you already. So the black horse is indicative of a time of famine. It is indicative of a time of famine or a time of drought, but it denotes a class of people, or 2 classes of people. It denotes the class of the haves and the class of the have-nots. Now, what's going to happen, what you're going to see here in the very near future, is that prices are going to go up. Listen to me very well. Prices are going to go up. When it says here that you're going to get barley, it says, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. What that is saying to us is that a penny was considered to be a denarius back in those days. And so when people understood it, or the people of that time, when they understood it, they understood that I will have to work all day to get a piece of bread. Okay. And so again, barley and wheat was the essentials that people needed. I'm going somewhere. I need y'all to hear me. There is going to be an attack on the essentials. That means that what you need to survive, to be sustained day to day. Now, is it going to be available? It's going to be available, but it may not be available to everybody, or it may not be readily available. There's a shift, there's something that is happening in the world, in the economy, in the marketplace, as it relates to food, even now. The Chinese folks are buying up all the farmland. They're not buying all the farmland for nothing. They are buying the farmland because they are positioning themselves. But in lieu of that, it is going to affect you. It is going to disproportionately affect you, and position you to a disadvantage, if you will. So we have some dynamics going on here. And in this text, it is saying, "See that you hurt not the oil or the wine." What that is suggesting now to us, and that we need to pay attention, is that there's going to be 2 classes of people. It's going to be the class of people that have to work all day to get a piece of bread. And so I also saw, the Lord showed me a while back, um, that it came before me, that families would start to come back together again. And what I mean by that is that it's going to get so tough for people to stand alone. So you're going to see families, mom and dad, the siblings, they're going to reunite and come up under the same roof again. Why? Because things are going to get really tight. It's going to get really tight. And so that class of people will be at a disadvantage. And then you're going to have the class of people that have oil and have the wine or have the wherewithal, the means now to uh, when you talk about oil and wine, that basically denotes people that are wealthy. And so folks that are wealthy during this time, they will have a greater advantage than those that are not wealthy. I was listening to Rich Paul, which is he's a negotiator for the NBA and for the NFL and for a lot of different things that he's doing now. Y'all know Rich Paul. And he made mention, and I've seen this years ago that the Lord showed it to me about these classes of people. And he says, if you notice in the NBA and in the NFL, he says that there's only so much money that can be spent, that they can give out. And what is happening is that you have the quarterback gets the biggest piece of the pie. Then you have the wide receivers. You have one or two tackles. Now I'm talking about football now. If you go in the basketball, you're gonna have one or two players. If you look at the Los Angeles Lakers, you got LeBron and you got Anthony Davis. Well, they eat up most of the pie. So let's just say that they eat up 2/3, maybe even a little bit more than that. Then the rest of that is divvied up amongst the other players on the roster, however many players that they have, but they all can only eat from that small portion now. The rest of that is going to go to the bread and butter of the franchise, which is going to be LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And every franchise has that. But that same ideology or that same model now is being expressed and shown to us in the world. This is what the text now is talking about. It is talking about the haves and the have-nots. So you're going to have basically a slave group or those that it's like, the puppy, the dog that sits at the master's feet and it's waiting on the crumbs. And the master goes to the kitchen, goes to the refrigerator, eats what he wants to eat when he wants to eat or she wants to eat, and so on and so forth. And then you still have the dog that's there just admonishing and like beholding the master, will you please give me something to eat? This is where all this is going to. And so this is the reason why this is so germane now that we have this discussion today. I'm not going to get finished with this, and I'm going to continue this because this is going to be something that you are going to need. I'm going to keep saying this. This is something that you're going to need here in a few days. When I say a few days, a few months, in the very near future, there's going to be a shift in our status. There's going to be a shift in the economy, in the way that we are navigating through life right now. And so this now is very important. Now, for my title today, my title is Seed Consumption, and I ain't got no more. Now, I woke up this morning because I didn't really have anything that I had on my heart for this morning. I know we've been talking about liberation through separation. And I tell you all the time, I'll stay where God wants me to stay, and I ain't feeling that one no more. So anything. And so last night, that's the way it always is. I'm watching the games and stuff like that, and I'm like, Lord, you ain't talking. And so what do we need to do here? And so I really didn't get anything. And then I overslept this morning because I've just been running and ain't had no rest. And so this morning, what jumped into my spirit, and I can't tell you, um, so you can't quote me on this, but it was in my spirit. I saw a movie, and I thought the movie was the movie Ray. Now I may not be correct, but I know I heard this, and I can hear it, and I can see the performance almost like I'm looking at this wall. But there was a lady in there, and of course, we're broken. It was the movie Ray deals with back in the day when we don't speak grammatically correct and all that stuff, or we speak country, or we speak with a different dialect, or people would call it a broken type of language. And so in my spirit, when I was in the bed and I was getting up, I was like, Lord, what am I going to, how do I put this together? Because in my sleep, and that's how it works for me, as in my sleep, the Lord will start speaking to me in a dream or whatever, will start speaking to me. And so I'm like, okay, God, I got the bodies kind of, but I don't know what the title is. I don't know what you want me to say. And so as I was coming back into this world, what I kept hearing was, I ain't got no more. And I think in this movie, this lady, she was being challenged from her kids, and the kids wanted something from her. Again, don't quote me on this, but it was in some movie that I saw. And so, what the woman's response was to the need, to the pull on her, is, I ain't got no more. And I want to deal with the phrase, I ain't got no more, because that is so pronounced, especially in impoverished communities, and communities where there is lack, in a lot of African American communities, in urban communities. We have uh, polarized and made this phrase, I ain't got no more, famous. We all understand, I ain't got no more. So again, it's two classes, but I want to drill down into that, because I want that I ain't got no more to come alive. I want that I ain't got no more to get into your spirit. And so we're going to talk today from the subject, seed consumption, and I ain't got no more. I want you to understand it, because a lot of people don't understand the purpose for the seed. And until you understand the purpose for the seed, you will always sing the song, or you will always repeat the phrase. You will always be of the mindset, I ain't got no more. And that's because we don't understand the purpose now for the seed. This is the reason why I have a cornfield behind me. I'm trying to go somewhere. I'm trying to position, to reposition you, to help you to offset the challenges now that we're going to see. I'm talking to you not just from a place of education, not just from a place of study, to get a word to you. I'm talking to you from a place of experience. This is not just something that I know. This is something, it is what I know, but moreover, it's where I live. So I've been trying to get people to understand, you have to shift your thinking. You have to shift what you know. You have to shift that. I'm dealing with, a lot of people now in the area of work that I do. And one of the things that I'm challenged by is that I have people that come and go. There's a revolving door that is around me, because they say to me, I don't pay them enough. And so they would prefer to go to McDonald's. Let me just say, as a parenthetical insert here, let me just put something in as it relates to that way of thinking, as we navigate through seed consumption and I ain't got no more. When you look at McDonald's or Wendy's, especially if you're a youngster, and you look at that as a greater source of income that is coming to you, it will sustain you momentarily, but it will always keep you in a cycle of poverty. And let me say that again. It will sustain you momentarily. Briefly, it will be able to satisfy your immediate need to some degree, but it will always keep you in a cycle of poverty. I want y'all to hear that. However, or conversely, if you have that same person that says, I'm going to stick with you or stay on the job, and I won't make it an issue about money, but I will make it an issue of me learning the business, me learning the skill, me having an understanding. If you take that road, if you go down that path, then it will make you a boss. It will make you a businessman. It will make you rich. It will make you wealthy. It will put you on top. You will be the lender and not the borrower. Now, it's just what it does is it's a mindset, and it pinches you just for a minute because McDonald's ain't giving you, $100 at the end of the week, and you get taxed for 33%. All right. And so at least you got, out of that $100, you might be able to bring home $65 and after 2 weeks go out and buy you some tennis shoes. Okay, so that again, it's temporary satisfaction. You don't want to be there. Now, I need you to stay with me with this message because I am trying to help you, and everything that I'm saying is pointing towards where we are going. And so that mentality has to be addressed. It has to be addressed. Most of us live from a reality of brokenness. We live from a reality of brokenness, i.e., our money is broke. Did y'all hear what I said? Our money, your money is broke. And you would say, well, I got money, but some money can be broke. So we live from a place of brokenness. Our money is broke. Our education is broke. That means what you know is broke. That means that you don't know enough, or what you do know does not have value to it. What you do know is not creative enough to draw an attraction or attention that would unbreak it. So what you know, your education, it is broke. Your words are broke. A lot of us, our words are broke. Now, I didn't say that you didn't have words. I didn't say that you didn't use words. But what I'm saying is that we are posturing ourselves and we are living from a place of broken words. And that means that the words can't produce, they can't create, they can't yield what you need them to yield. I didn't say that you couldn't speak a language. I said that the words now are broken because to the interview, when you go before the man, when you go and you search and you seek out, when you get there, there's words that you present in your presentation. And if the words that you present in your presentation are not the right words, are not the suitable words, or if the words are broken in the ears of that person or that institution that you're talking to, then those words are broken. They're no good. They're not useful. They have lost utility for production purposes. Now, I need you to stay with me. No more our resources. There's no more resources. Our resources are broken. Our resources are broken. But what we need to understand, according to 2 Corinthians 4:7, is that we have this treasure in earthen vessels, but we have to figure out, how do I get this treasure out of the earthen vessels? Now, in the scripture, Jesus, the scripture now is talking, is counseling or talking to itself. The Spirit of God is talking to itself. Now, we have this treasure, earthen vessels. That is God saying, but we have invested into these humans, these people that are fleshly, but they are in our image and in our likeness. We have deposited, we have planted this treasure in these earthen vessels, but right now they appear to be broken, or they appear to be marred or cracked, and what's inside of them, they can't envision it. They can't grasp it. And so it's oozing out. Yet there is a treasure inside of you, but you have to mind it out. There's gold inside of you. There's creativity inside of you. There's silver inside of you. There's an entrepreneur that is inside of you, but you have to stabilize yourself enough to mind it out. Now, I am going somewhere with this because you're going to need it. Because if you don't catch this, you will be like the puppy, like the dog that's going to sit at the master. Now, I need you to understand what I'm saying. This is the reason why I'm saying I see families coming together under one roof. And the reason why they are going to come under one roof, because there is no vision. There is no understanding of a treasure that is inside of them. There is no insightfulness of the God that's inside of them. They don't understand it. They can't grasp it. And so when you can't see the God of this world, the God of you, the God of everything, the God of your soul, the Savior of your heart, your mind, your body, and everything, when you can't see it, then it puts you at a place of disadvantage and desperation. And so now you have to resort to natural means that only you understand. This is the reason why the scripture says in Hosea 4:6 that my people are destroyed for a lack of resources, a lack of understanding, wisdom, a lack of knowledge, because you are leaning on unto your own understanding. But the Proverbs this says opposite. It says, lean not unto your own understanding. Lean not towards that way. Lean not towards your own understanding. And that's where a lot of us have positioned ourselves to know what we know. So with that, in my title, Seed of Consumption and I Ain't Got No More, we have to look at it. It's a perspective vis-a-vis what I know. So I didn't have room to put all the titles in here, but this is all what we need to massage through. So we have to look at seed consumption, what I'm going to deal with today, perspectives vis-a-vis what I know, because a lot of people right now I'm living in the world of what I know, and what I'm telling you is what you know is not enough, and I'm telling you that what you know is going to hurt you. It's killing you. What you know, you have to reposition yourself. You have to reposition yourself. A lot of us, I've used this illustration that the ant that's across the road now, if the ant can make it from one side of the street and make it over here to my house, he will tell the ant world from where he's at, I've seen the whole world. I seen, because it was able to travel from one house across the street to my house over here. And so in that, when you look at it in perspective, or from what I know, it means that I have lived, I have traveled, I have seen it all. But when I look at the ant, I see a whole different world, and I say, man, you ain't seen nothing, and I crush you. I just step on you. You got a short life. All you did was just walk across the street. You ain't seen nothing. But too often do I talk to people and they are challenged with this. I mean, I live. This is my city. I've been in this little 35,000 population city, and Mama was here, Grandmama was here, and this is all I know. I've never experienced a different type of food. So I don't know what that's like. I've never been to a different country. I don't have a desire to go to different. I don't have a desire to explore, to go beyond what I know. And so it's hurting us because we continue to box ourselves in. And so we have this challenge of vis-a-vis what I know, perspective, what I know. And then we drill down to as a result of seed consumption, as a result of perspective vis-a-vis what I know or what I don't know, you fall into the category of I ain't got no more. And so since now we are at the place where I ain't got no more, uh, the the subtitle today, if you will, would be, so let's work with that. So let's work with all the challenges and everything that you are up against. Now, I know that I have said a lot, but let's work with it. Let's work with it. So now, I want you, in my notes here, I have John. Let's go to the book of John, because we need to now understand what seed consumption is, and this is very powerful. I'm telling you, you need to share this with somebody, because I'm getting ready to expose some revelation and some insight that is going to liberate, that is going to set you free. It is something that I live by, and I pray, God, how can I get what you have given to me to the people? Because I know what it will do. I know what it will do. Now, let me help you to understand this first part of my title, and it's called seed consumption. Now, I want you to go to the book of John, chapter number 12, the book of John, chapter number 12, and we are going to start at verse number 23. Now, the backdrop of this particular uh, section of scripture here, what Jesus is telling them is that I'm getting ready to go. I'm getting ready to go. But I don't want you to focus on that I'm getting ready to go. I want you to focus on the reason why I have to go, the reason why it's necessary for me to go. And in all actuality, the truth here, or the revelation here, the thing that you need to take away is that if Jesus does not go, multiplication does not happen, addition does not happen, the square root does not happen. Exponential does not happen if he does not go. So, what he is talking about is expansion. The expansion is going to be actualized in his going away, or in his demise, or in his death. Now I'm going to talk about the seed consumption. That's how it's going to be activated, or that's how it's going to be worked. He's saying, now, in order for me to be increased, that I have to decrease. I have to die. Paul even talks about it. I have to die. If I don't die, then addition does not come, multiplication does not come, exponential measure does not come, expansion does not come. Now, watch this, because you need to understand that this is what I mean by that we are challenged by a lack of knowledge, because when we read the word of God, we don't know what does this mean, what's the context that is behind it, and he's not necessarily talking about what I'm getting ready to read, but what he's talking about is expansion. He's talking about a harvest. That's what he's talking about, a harvest, but he's trying to get you to see it in a different way. Now watch verse 23 here in John chapter 12, beginning at verse number 23. And Jesus answered them, saying, the hour is come that the Son of Man should be glorified. Now, oftentimes what we do is we focus on what was just said. So what we want to say is, well, no, you can't go away. He said that hour is come. In other words, the way I understood that was that you getting ready to leave us. Don't focus on me leaving. Don't focus on the steps on how I'm going to leave, or what you getting ready to see. Don't focus on that. Focus on the glory. Focus on the harvest. Focus on what's how you're going to be benefited in my absence, because in my absence is going to be my presence, but it's going to be manifold. It's going to be replicated over and over and over, to a number that cannot be counted. Now watch this. The hour has come that the Son of Man should be glorified. Now watch. He says, verily, verily. This is what I want you to see with the seed consumption. Here he says, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground. except a corn of wheat. Now, the word corn there is a grain. It is a little seed. He says, unless it falls not on the ground, but unless it falls into the ground. He says this, he says, and die. Because one of the issues that we are being challenged with is that we have a seed, but the seed still is wiggling. That means that you ain't let it go. It means that it still has life attached to it. That means that I gave, but I didn't give with the right attitude. I gave it away, but I didn't give with the right heart. Now listen here. It says, it abideth, unless it die, it abideth long. It says, but if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. Now he said that in conjunction of letting them know that the Son of Man's got to go. But then he uses this this agrarian, this agricultural metaphor, analogy, if you will, to summarize, to bring understanding or revelation to why he has to go. And he's saying, listen, he says, I want you to hear that unless a corn, a grain of corn, or a piece of corn, a seed, unless it falls into the ground and dies, he said, it abides alone. Now, I just want to pause there just for a second, because I'm going to go somewhere on this morning. I'm getting ready to show you how you can blow up, because I got to deal now with what's wrong. I'm going to get next week to the 30, 60, and 100-fold. But right now, I got to deal with what's wrong. I got to deal with the reason why everybody's got to come under the same roof. There's a reason why everybody's got to come under the same roof, because there's a lack of understanding. There's a lack of resources. There's a lack of creativity. And so you have segregated yourself from the wealthy class, because there's something that you are missing, and it is a mentality. It is the Burger King, the McDonald's mentality of let me get a paycheck week to week, and week to week is going to keep you in poverty. It is the mentality of the ant that comes from across the street to over here, and he says, I've seen the whole world. And you have not seen the whole world. You have not experienced anything. You are nothing. And I'm trying to get you beyond that. And this is what the text is talking about. This is what Jesus is saying. He's saying, unless a grain of wheat fall into the ground and die. That means now that a lot of things that you have, and the wheat now, or the corn, or the seed now, is to be translated or to be understood as money. But money now has to be understood as a purpose. Money is not just to spend on things or on stuff. You need to know the purpose of a seed. This is the reason why we are consuming everything that we have, is because we don't know the purpose of the seed. Share this message. And in order for you to survive this next coming year, you need to start positioning yourself, posturing yourself to understand the purpose of the seed, and not to consume the seed, but understanding now from an agrarian standpoint, and farmer standpoint, an agricultural standpoint, how the farmer sees the seed. Because the farmer does not eat the seed. If you eat the seed, then maybe the seed sustains you until the next meal, which is in many cases is 5 minutes later. But if you plant the seed now has the propensity, the wherewithal, the ability to yield you what's behind me in the backdrop, which is a harvest. And so what is happening for a lot of us, and to a lot of us, what we are doing is we're eating our last dollar, which is the seed. So we're consuming it, thinking that that's all we have left. And if you maintain that mentality, you will die. I'm getting ready to go to the Old Testament in a few minutes. And I'm going to show you how this works in real time. But I want you to see now what Jesus, the mindset of Jesus here. He says, unless a grain of wheat fall into the ground and die, he says, it abideth alone. Now notice, a dollar or a child, a seed is like a baby. When a baby comes into the world, from day one, it is fighting to stay alive. Something is always at that very moment, death is present. That's across the board. Every child that is born from day one is fighting in this world now to stay alive. And you fight to stay alive from the day that you are born to the day that you die. It's the way it is. It is the same way with the dollar. The dollar is being fought by you from the time that you get it to the time that it is released. It is being fought to leave your hand. How is it being fought? It's being fought by the desires, the cares of this world, the choices that you have made, which dictate to it or to you to release it so it can go from you, so it can go and be put in another place. When it's put in that place, what it does, it puts you at a disadvantage. Although you think that you are at advantage, because you go out and you buy a Louis, you go out and you buy a Gucci, you go out and you buy a car, and all those things are fine and well. I'm not telling you not to do it. What I'm saying is you have to know the purpose. And when you do it, if I go out, I promise you, if I go out and buy a Louis, it is expendable. It is recreational cash. That means that I have looked at the big picture and I've examined it from every degree that you can think of. And I say, you know what? God has been so good that I can go out and I can get this Louis, I get this Gucci if I want it. 9 times 10, I ain't gonna want it. When y'all saw me go to London and I went into the Louis store and the Gucci store, I just went in there. I went in there and I see, I'm an educational person. So I'm going in there to see what in the world these fools doing. You mean to tell me you're going to go in here and you're going to spend $5,000 on a purse because of a name and it ain't even leather? It don't even last as long as a Coach. It don't last as long as a no brand, somebody that ain't at the top of the food chain, that ain't got no name to themselves, but they making a quality product. It don't even last that long. And their product is more useful. It's got more utilities. It got more pockets. It can do this. It can do that. You go out and you buy because it's got a red cloth in the inside of it, and it say LV on the outside of it, and everybody that supposed to be somebody, they carrying it. I'm not telling you to throw away your Louis. I ain't telling you to go and not buy your Louis. What I'm telling you is think about it. I'm saying to you is if you see me sporting a Louis, if you see me wearing a certain things, if I got a Rolex on or whatever it is, I mean, I got leisure money. But too often people going out and they spending the money on a Louis or a Gucci, and that's all you got. When you leave there, you ain't got a garage to put a car in, and if the car that you do have is a hoopty, right? But when you get out, you sure look good. I'm meddling now, but I'm trying to address the mentality that you have. So now back to my message. Unless it dies, it has to fall, because that does not die. What that's saying is it's still alive. It's even still alive when you put it on the altar. It's still alive when it's in your pocket. It's still alive in your mind. In your mind, you're battling. Do I give this away? Do I sow it? When you sow it, that means you put it in the ground. But unless it dies, when you put it in the ground, that means that I have totally released it. Your yield is going to come from the death of your seed. It is the mindset of how you give. When you give unto God. Lord have mercy, I don't have time. I need to deal with the book of Haggai and the holes in the pocket because his house was not built and all this. But there's a way that you can pull on of the coattail of God, and that you can get God to bless you. And it is a mindset. So it has to leave you. It's got to fall into the ground and die. What is the ground? It is the earth. It is the incubator. It is the womb now. It has to go into the womb. I could say it's a whole nother way I could go with this, because a lot of us, we plan into a man. You don't plan into a man. You plan into a trend. You want to. I've witnessed it so many times where they say, "Okay, we're going to do a building fund," and because you got brother so and so there and sister so and so there, and they're people of influence, and so they got a good job, they got a little money, but you don't want to make people think and feel that you ain't got nothing, that you ain't nobody. So they give $10,000 right towards a building fund. So you got to say, okay. And then when they do it, they got a line here and they say who did this and who did that. And if you do this, you get a little plaque, and we'll put your plaque on the pew or something like that. But then the mentality is that what you want to do is follow suit. And so now you're sowing, and maybe God ain't got nothing to do with this whatsoever, because you weren't prayerful about your sowing. What you did was you did what you saw everybody else do. You had no understanding. You had no knowledge. You had no wisdom. And so the grain of wheat did not fall into the ground. It was, when it left, it did not die. It had a different agenda. It had a different modus operandus attached to it. And so now, even after you gave your $1,000, because you got a decent job, so you give $1,000, but then you still find yourself, I'm struggling. And I've seen this in the church over and over and over again. This is the reason why the church people, the congregants, are not seeing the dividends, are not seeing the God, the Jesus of the Bible, of the word. You're not seeing the effects of it. It's because you're doing it wrong. And it's because a lot of the pastors out there, they're not presenting it right. They're concerned about, you give the money because they want to look good. They want to put up a new addition. This right here is going to be the recreational center that we need to do. Why? It makes me look good. I'm pastor such and such. I'm bishop such and such, right? But they're not getting the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding to the people that they need to attach to God in order for them to be blessed. And so it's easy for them to say, okay, in this line right here, it's $100. Who's going to give me $100? And so you got that going on, right? And everybody jumping in line. Why are they jumping in line? Because, well, Sally did it and Joe did it. And so I'm sitting here, I got this pressure on me now, right? And it's pressure. It's not from God. It's not from a prayer place. So now you continue to find yourself at a disadvantage or a dearth. But you go into church and you're influenced by the people that are around. You don't have no word. You don't have no word. You're not prayerful. None of this stuff. Yeah, you get up and you get real cute. You make sure your hair is done and you go to church, because church, for a lot of practical reasons, has become a social club. We're not experiencing the God of the Bible per se. I don't mean that carte blanche, but I'm saying that in a great body of proportion, that we're not experiencing the God of the Bible. Too many people are unhappy. Too many people are sad. Too many people are poor in the church. So my message today is a message that is geared towards poverty, because we're eating up the seed. We're eating the seed because we don't understand the purpose of the seed. The purpose of the seed is to yield you a harvest, but it is out of the heart now that you sow into the ground. It is the picture. Why am I doing what I do? Jesus died that we may have life. Why did you sow? Who did you have in mind when you were sowing? Was there vision in front of you? Was your family in front of you? Was your community in front of you? What was the driving force behind you doing what you did besides being seen? This now becomes the death. So he says, unless a grain of wheat fall unto or into the ground, I keep saying into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, then you get the harvest, which is behind me. My time is up. My time is up. Jesus. I want to deal with the woman that Elijah went to the place called Zarephath. This is found in Second Kings. I believe it's it's First Kings. It's First Kings, and it's found in chapter number 17. And I don't have, because I want to give you an earthly example of what this is. We just talked about the consumption of the seed. Now I want to show you what this is going to do, because ultimately I got some good news. And my good news that I wrote into the margins of my Bible here is that if you obey the prophet of God, your barn or barrels will remain full during this time that we're getting ready to experience in a few days. Now Elijah was commissioned to go. First of all, he called for a drought. When he calls for a drought, he says it ain't gonna rain. That drought affected him. So now long story short, he goes to a place called Zarephath. It is a place of dearth. When he gets here, there's a woman there. She's experiencing drought, or she's experiencing famine. So I want to deal next week with the mentality of where she was at, and why what she says, me and my son, I'm gonna eat this, and after I eat it, we gonna die. And what Elijah said, he says, I'm not gonna deal with it. He says, do what you have in your heart to do, but before you do it, give to me. Now I'm gonna deal with that next week, because this now is how you position yourself to offset what is getting ready to happen in a few days and a few months. Now I want y'all to look at my face. If I'm a man of God, I want this message to come back. I've said this before. I said it. The Lord continues to show me that, dude, I'm talking to you. And I want you to tell my people this, and I want you to tell my people that. I told y'all about if you can't run. I told you about the horses. I said, if you can't run with the footmen, how you gonna run with the horsemen? When that came about, we dealt with COVID. We dealt with Black Lives Matter. All that stuff was happening. It was one thing after another. All that happened. I talked about the horses. I talked about the black horse. I talked about the pale horse, which was also the coronavirus and the famine. I talked about how prices was going to be inflated. I continue to talk about the criminality, if that's the right word, of how people are positioning things. I use my wood analogy. I said, you go get a 4x8 sheet of 1/2-inch plywood, and it used to be $13, and it's 70 something down, $73, $77 now. That's criminal, right? Things are going to continue to go up. So as things go up, how do you compete with all this stuff? Besides everybody, because you got to do what you know, everybody now has got to come together. So much. I got so much. I just gave you a little scotchy piece of it today. I got so much more to tell you, because it's getting ready to happen. It's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. And it's going to keep on happening, because we got to go to Matthew 24. Jesus is on his way back. He's on his way back. And we need to start to understand, because now this stuff is going to start rapid fire. It's rapid fire. And there's a whole lot of things going on. The stuff with Israel, the stuff with Palestine, all this stuff. All these things are going on, and there's signs that it's telling us something. But I don't want you to be asleep. And that's what happened in the day of Noah. He says it'll be just like the day of Noah. People will be eating and marrying. They'll be going on to life like it's cool. And they'll be talking about his peace because it seems like everything all right for me. And that's going to happen. Right now, it's going to get jiggy, but then it's going to clear up and it's going to get peaceful. And the peace time is what you have to be aware of, because there is no peace without Jesus. But when the Antichrist and when a man calls for peace, watch out, Tiger. All right, men and women of God, the worst is over, the best is yet to come. Your quality of life is getting better and better and better. Because of that, you're going to live and not die and declare the works and the will of the Lord for your life. I am Dr. Donnie Eatman. I am the face of face-to-face ministry. I want you to share this message. I want you to share this word. I want you to give me a thumbs up. I want you to give me a like. I want you to subscribe. I want you to do a whole bunch of stuff. Remember that I love you, but God loves you so, 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 so much more. I want you to go in God's love, peace, and God's happiness, God's joy, God's everything until we meet again. Shalom.